Sweet Pet plus 1v1 plus Childhood Sweetheart plus two-way Secret Love plus Entertainment Industry plus Variety Show Live Broadcast. Keke bravely broke into the entertainment industry with his divine beauty and began his career as an 18th-tier amateur performer. Duan Moshen said, "I just want to invest. Stay and I'll give you two." Desire constantly tests on the edge of reason. She went to participate in the overall variety show live broadcast and quickly gained popularity. By chance, Duan Moshen participated in the love show, feeling like a needle on pins and needles. He concealed his identity and actively invited the show. No one can covet his Coco. He is cold and abstinent, but he is crazily sprinkling candy on the variety show and forcibly holding hands successfully. He helped her deal with her father who values wealth for his life and her boss who only seeks profit. Keke has also gained a place in the entertainment industry with her strength, and more men are admiring her. When she was exposed spending 3 days and 3 nights with a man in a hotel, there was a serious polarization in external comments. He revealed his identity and immediately posted on Weibo to refute the rumors for her, and attached a photo of them for official announcement. For a moment, the business and entertainment circles exploded, and the aloof business god Duan Mo fell deeply in love. Netizen: "He is an unmarried person, they won't have any results." Duan Moshen held Keke in his arms and talked about it again. At that time, he asked, "So tell me, what do you want to be with me? Girlfriends and wives can do it." At that time, she replied, "Lover." Duan Moshen said, "Forget it, just say whatever she says." Keywords of the novel: The Joy of First Love without pop-ups, The Joy of First Love Complete Collection download, the latest chapter reading of The Joy of First Love. Chapter 1. Coco, Look at Me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Coco, Look at Me. Keke was pressed against the wall, and the smell of tobacco mixed with the smell of alcohol could not conceal the refreshing scent on the man's body. The man held one hand against Keke's ear, while the other held onto her delicate chin. A subtle sentiment was revealed in the gloomy gaze, with a deep and seductive voice. "I just want to invest, stay and I'll give you 2 copies. Keke looked at the man's sinking eyes and was about to say something when the man suddenly leaned down and kissed her. The strong and passionate kiss made Keke unable to extricate himself, his mouth filled with the smell of alcohol, and in his ear came the increasing breathing sound of Duan Moshen. Duan Moshen tightly kneaded her in his arms, greedily feeling the girl's softness. The next second, those narrow and deep black eyes locked onto Keke, almost drowning her. She could clearly feel the restlessness of Duan Moshen's body. Since Duan Moshen inherited the Duan family group, the women sent to his bed have never stopped. Every time he was sent away, without exception. But if it were her, "Coco, look at me." Duan Moshen's voice was deep and magnetic, making Coco feel numb all over. In just 6 words, she couldn't resist. The next second, Keke was thrown onto the bed. Duan Moshen took off his black suit jacket and threw it aside. His knuckled fingers rudely pulled open the tie, and he quickly pulled out the belt from his waist, moving in one go. Keke swallowed his saliva and only had 2 words in his mind. Handsome. Duan Moshen bullied her body and stepped up, his delicate and numb kiss falling on her lips, ears, and neck. A crisp and tingling electric current felt from Keke's back to her brain. She was going crazy. Desire constantly tests on the edge of reason. A moment in the spring night is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. Even if 1,000 pieces of gold are scattered, they will come back again. They will come from a single-leaf boat, from a single-leaf boat, from a single-leaf boat. Her brain finally entered a dead cycle under the interference of desire. In the blink of an eye, a whimpering voice squeezed out from the lips, "Duan Moshen, you're drunk." Duan Mo's deep and cold eyes locked onto the woman's blushing little face below him. "So what? Keke. Duan Moshen stood up and picked up the information on the ground, saying in a deep voice, "If you want to sleep, I'll just say it, but maybe you'll be more comfortable sleeping with me." Keke hurriedly tidied up his clothes and avoided Duan Moshen's gaze, saying, Me. How should she explain that her agent asked her to deliver documents to the company CEO? She's really stupid. Who's the boss who needs information at night? You misunderstood, I'm really just here to deliver the documents. Keke is like a frightened deer, with a heart full of ups and downs, looking very lovable. Duan Mo's deep eyes darkened and he threw the information onto Keke's body. His voice was cold and distant, "Get out." Duan Mo's deep eyes were filled with a hint of darkness. He picked up a cigarette from the bedside and silently walked to the window to light it. At the moment the cigarette was delivered to his mouth, he licked his lips with the tip of his tongue, as if there was still her fragrance lingering around his lips and mouth. His deep gaze locked on the thin figure at the hotel entrance, and he extinguished his cigarette in his hand. She is very beautiful. Unlike those glamorous female celebrities in the entertainment industry, her beauty is not just about her facial features, but the gentle and dynamic energy emanating from the inside out is her true beauty. Seemingly gentle and sweet, but deep down there is a hint of charm and alienation. On the night of May in Liancheng, the cool breeze blows gently, and the streets are filled with red lights and green wine. The cool breeze blew by, and the not yet lush roadside trees made a rustling sound. Keke wrapped himself in clothes, and a sense of desolation surged into her heart. Once upon a time, she was also a socialite from Liancheng. Once upon a time, that man would still call her Coco sister. Keke called his agent Zhou Qing while calling for a car, and the phone only rang once before answering. "Sister Zhou, what's going on? Didn't you ask me to help you deliver the documents to Mr. Zhang? Why is it Duan in the hotel room? It's another man." Zhou Qing's voice paused and she said, "How are you doing with Mr. Duan? Has the matter been resolved?" Keke pursed her lips and said, "Sister Zhou, should we discuss this plan with me? It concerns my innocence." On the other end of the phone, Zhou Qing rolled her eyes and said, "As long as you can make money, that's what Mr. Zhang means. I can't do anything about it." Keke sneered and hung up the phone. This is her agent, who never thinks about artists. She holds everything high and holds everything to herself, and once anything involves her, she immediately sets aside the relationship. This is also the reason why Zhou Qing, who has been a manager for so many years, can only take on artists like her who are on the 18th tier. When she applied to Liancheng Film Academy with a score of 211,985, she thought she could develop steadily in the entertainment industry. However, it has been proven that the entertainment industry is a mix of good and bad, and it is not as easy to get along as she thinks. On the contrary, she was excluded and suppressed due to her identity as a member of the Yuan family. She has been plagued by various scandals, and negative reviews since her debut, and almost always makes headlines on the entertainment page. Her reputation is getting worse and worse, almost reaching the level of online blackmail. At the beginning, the company would come out to refute rumors and clarify them, but over time, coupled with her not becoming popular, the company let those false reports fly everywhere. Returning to the small house she rented in Liancheng, Keke looked at herself in the mirror after washing up. The beauty has a delicate and graceful figure, with round and bright eyes that are gentle and charming. Everyone said she was beautiful, and she also expressed approval. Keke's slender fingers gently caressed her fair and delicate neck. It was just here, and Duan Mo deeply kissed her here, and here. In my memory, this was the first time they had such close contact. For a moment, her thoughts were pulled back to some afternoon break. They collided at the corner of the teaching corridor, with a smile in Duan Mo's eyes and a faint smile on his thin lips. Everything that just happened went through her mind like a small movie over and over again. Duan Moshen's figure is really impressive, and his chest muscles can be seen clearly through his shirt. If it weren't for her rationality, she was really afraid that losing control of her restless little heart would make Duan Moshen counterattack. With a loud bang, Keke hit his head hard. How could she have such thoughts? What a sin. The next day, Keke slept until noon before waking up. She opened WeChat and saw 3 messages from Zhou Qing. You made headlines again. I didn't even look around for paparazzi, but fortunately the photo was blurry and I couldn't see my face. Mr. Zhang asked you to go back to the company. Keke, it's best to negotiate this matter, otherwise Mr. Zhang will really hide you. This time is not a joke, please don't implicate me. I hope everyone can support me a lot, thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Unless that paragraph is always a monk. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Unless that paragraph is always a monk. Keke didn't pay much attention to Zhou Qing's words. She opened Weibo and the headline was: Keke had a nightclub with a man, spending 3 hours with him in a hotel. Attached is a photo of her knocking on the door of Duan Moshen Hotel. The secret shooting technique is very poor, and the picture is very blurry, making it difficult to see her face clearly. However, from her body shape, it can be vaguely seen that it is her. She only stayed in Duan Moshen's room for more than 10 minutes at most, and I don't know what unscrupulous media was talking nonsense to attract attention. If she could spend 3 hours in the same room with Duan Moshen, then humans would have dominated the Milky Way long ago. Keke glanced at the comments section. What's wrong with Keke? Her private life is so chaotic, how can she still have the face to hang out in the entertainment industry? It's shameless to come out and flirt with men just because of one's own beauty. Being close to wealthy individuals, believe it or not, Keke will soon have resources. She's going to shoot the movie X with my brother. I really don't like her. Stay away from my brother, she is really hee-hee. Everything is in a hee-hee. Keke suppressed the urge to greet those black fans when Yu Shuyuan's phone came in. She took a deep breath and answered the call. Hello, Yu Shuyuan's voice came from the other end of the phone. Why did it take so long to answer the phone? Keke's voice was deep. Busy. Let me tell you, there is a storefront near my new house that I want to sell. I have already negotiated with the landlord. Please transfer 700,000 yuan to me quickly. Yu Shuyuan spoke in one breath without taking a breath. Keke pursed her lips. Her father never cared about her and only reached out to her for money. I just gave you over 3 million yuan last year, and I don't have any money now, she said. Yu Shuyuan didn't believe it and said, who are you deceiving? You can earn tens or even millions just by filming a scene. Are you unwilling to give it to me, or do you insist that I come to your company to find you? This is the same thing again, she can't afford to lose that person. Her father only grasped her weaknesses, so he could always shamelessly get money from her. Let's do this for now. I'm still busy, I'll get back to you when I have time. Before Yu Shuyuan could speak, she hung up the phone. Keke just threw his phone aside and the phone rang again. It was still Yu Shuyuan, who decided to go to the bathroom to wash up and let his phone ring. Her father is a backdoor person with little ability, but he is handsome and has a sweet tongue. He makes her mother happy and even holds a position in the Yuan family after marriage. However, her wealthy life came to an end at the age of 15. That year, her mother Yuan Zhen passed away in a car accident, and the Yuan family group disappeared overnight. The wealthy heirs turned into street mice that everyone shouted and fought against, and Yu Shuyuan, penniless, threw her to Mrs. Yuan. Old Mrs. Yuan went back to her hometown alone because of all the rumors, and entrusted Yuka to her good sisters, Duan Moshen's grandmother. She just moved into the old residence of the Duan family. In order not to cause any trouble for the Duan family, Mrs. Yuan specifically instructed not to disclose to the outside world about Keke's foster care at the Duan family. So far, no one knows about the relationship between Keke and the Duan family. Zhang's entertainment company. Keke, last night you were with Mr. Duan. Zhang Ji smiled uncontrollably, looking like a villain. Keke sat on the sofa in Zhang Ji's office and glanced at Zhou Qing. Zhou Qing furrowed her hair uncomfortably, looking indifferent to my affairs. Nothing happened, Keke weakly responded and glanced at Zhang Ji with beautiful eyes. What? Zhang Ji couldn't believe it. Duan Moshen was so drunk that he couldn't be indifferent to Keke's appearance. Unless that segment is always a monk. Keke pursed his lips and said, Mr. Duan, he should be a gentleman. This statement is somewhat against my heart. She wanted Zhang Ji to find another way, but due to her humble status now, she dare not speak up. Zhang Ji stood up and pointed at Keke, saying, you can't even accomplish this. What else can you do? Keke rolled a big white eye in his heart. Zhang's entertainment company has always been lukewarm in the industry, and this year it won a hot movie called X. This movie received attention from various media outlets before it even started filming, and once it is released, Zhang Entertainment Company will definitely make a lot of money. The biggest investor among them is Duan Moshen, and Zhang Ji wants to use this opportunity to encourage Duan Moshen to continue investing in the next movie, Moonlight. But with the status of the Duan family in Duan Moshen's arrogant eyes, Zhang Ji had no chance to approach him at all, which was when he thought of making Keke. After all, Keke couldn't bear the injustice and retorted in a low voice, bowing his head. I can't blame it either, I have to blame Mr. Duan. The company's performance relies on female artists' dedication to achieve it. It's not good to hear rumors about it, right? Keke scolded Zhang Ji for his poor character and poor business ability, and Zhang Ji couldn't say a word. Zhang Ji pointed at Keke and gestured for a while before saying, I see you're living too comfortably. If it weren't for Ji Jianan recommending you to play the role of the second female artist, I would have let you do it. Which female artist under my command is not stronger than you? Keke knew he was talking about Wang Yan, a female artist who loved to suppress her in the same company. She was a wealthy second generation, and her father had a good relationship with Zhang Ji. Keke dug out his ear and thought Zhang Ji had farted. Zhang Ji paced back and forth, lit a cigarette, and pointed at Keke, saying, except for the movie X, all other activities have been stopped. I told you not to take me seriously. You figure it out, and I am the one who gives you food. Even if she tried to reason, she couldn't say a word now. After all, just one sentence from Zhang Ji could hide her. She counted with her fingers and found out that she still had a 5-year contract with Zhang's entertainment company. By the time these 5 years had passed, she was already 30 years old. The best period for an actress has already passed, and by that time, the new generation of little flowers will be everywhere. Who would still remember her as a young actress in the 18th tier? Zhou Qing tried to smooth things out and said, Mr. Zhang, calm down. Coco was also quick-witted for a while. How dare she not take Mr. Zhang seriously? Keke glanced at Zhou Qing. If it weren't for her job loss that would have affected Zhou Qing's performance, Zhou Qing wouldn't have spoken for her. She sat on the sofa buttoning her fingers and remained silent. Let's go, don't let me see you, Zhang Ji said with disdain. Keke got up and left Zhang Ji's office, followed closely by Zhou Qing. As soon as the office door closed, Zhou Qing began to play the role of a kind-hearted person. How could you talk to Mr. Zhang like this? Mr. Zhang is doing it for your own good. If you can hook up with Mr. Duan, you can be very picky about the resources in our company. Hooking up. Before Zhou Qing could finish speaking, Keke suddenly stopped and said, Sister Zhou, I suggest you lose weight during this period. If you encounter such a situation again, it would be best for Sister Zhou to rely on her own body to help Mr. Zhang. After speaking, Keke walked away with long legs. Zhou Qing stood still for a long time and angrily muttered to herself, I'm not doing this for your own good. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. You reached your tongue yesterday. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. You reached your tongue yesterday. The ringtone of her phone was humming and singing, and she took out her phone. It was Grandma Duan's phone number, and she must have asked her to go back for dinner. Hello, Grandma. Coco, Grandma missed you. How about coming back for dinner today? Grandma bought you chicken wings and pig trotters. Grandma Duan's amiable voice came from the other end of the phone, and Keke's bad mood also eased a lot. But she instinctively wanted to refuse, because Grandma Duan would definitely call her Duan Moshen, the person she least wanted to see. As for last night's incident, she didn't care anymore. Duan Moshen probably got drunk. Grandma, I might be here today. She changed her mind as soon as the refusal reached her lips. Her beautiful eyes changed and she said, Grandma, I'll go over now. After hanging up the phone, Grandma Duan dug up the news she saw in the morning. Grandma Duan knows the room number, which is Duan Moshen's presidential suite at Duan's Grand Hotel. And the girl knocking on the door, the back of her head and the small figure, Grandma Duan is 100% certain that she is Keke. What else can a lonely man and a widow do when they spend 3 hours in the same room? She knows very well as someone who came here. She's afraid she'll have a big grandson. The old man laughed uncontrollably. The Duan family and the Yuan family are close friends. Although the Yuan family declined later on, it did not affect her liking for the girl Keke. Her great-grandson is seen by others as the only heir of the Duan family group and a proud son of heaven. But in her eyes, she's just a bad-tempered brat, careful not to speak with her eyes and tongue. Which girl is really unlucky to be with him for 8 lifetimes? Mrs. Duan has watched it in various celebrity circles, even in the entertainment industry, and she has found that Keke and her grandson are the most compatible. As soon as Keke arrived at the old residence of the Duan family, Grandma Duan held onto her hand and said with heartache, Keke, you've lost weight again. Didn't you eat well? Keke let Grandma Duan hold her and replied with a smile, Grandma, you always say that. I'm not thin at all. There is a kind of thinness, calling your grandmother to watch you thin. When I was taking the college entrance examination, I asked you to study a serious major. After graduating from university, I asked Duan Moshen to arrange a position for you in the Duan group. It's not as good as wading in that muddy water in the entertainment industry, said Grandma Duan with regret. Keke shook his grandmother's arm and coquettishly said, I know my grandmother hurts me. I'm doing pretty well now, and my grandmother doesn't have to worry about me. If I really encounter any trouble, I will definitely seek her help as soon as possible. Grandma Duan touched Yuka's head and said, you know how to make me happy. Keke helps Grandma Duan with her kitchen chores. As Grandma Duan gets older, she usually doesn't cook in person and is usually taken care of by Aunt Chin. Only when Keke comes back will she personally cook a few dishes that Keke loves to eat. Keke handed the washed chicken wings to Grandma Duan and asked without leaving a trace, Grandma, is Duan Moshen back today? Grandma Duan didn't show any signs on her face, but she was happy in her heart. Come back, come back. He just sent me a WeChat message saying there was a traffic jam on the way and he will come back later. 20 minutes later, the figure of a man appeared in the kitchen. Keke looked at the man wearing a white shirt, dignified and distant. The unbuttoned collar made his slender and fair neck unusually hooked. It's coming so soon, isn't it? Traffic jam? Keke asked Duan Moshen in a strange and sinister tone. Duan Moshen leaned against the door frame and slowly rolled up his sleeves, a simple yet elegant gesture. She does not deny that Duan Moshen is a very charming man. Duan Moshen's gaze fell indifferent and distant on Keke's beautiful face, and he responded in a deep voice, the blockage is not serious. Keke, holding a plate of braised chicken wings, deliberately leaned the plate over to Duan Moshen and said, make way. Duan Moshen furrowed his brows slightly, leaned aside to make way for her, and squeezed out 3 words from between his teeth, be careful not to spill them on your clothes. As soon as the words fell, Keke's hand tilted, and a light gray dress suddenly added an oil flower. Ah, her skirt is dirty. Looking at Yuka's pitiful and urging figure, Duan Moshen curled his lips without leaving a trace. Grandma Duan covered her mouth and chuckled, Moshen, you don't need to come here. You go out and ask Coco not to come in either. You're messing my mind here. Duan Moshen's eyes narrowed slightly and he said in a deep voice, okay, Grandma, if you have something to do, please call me. On the sofa in the living room, Keke and Duan Moshen sat 2 seats apart. Keke held the TV remote control, and no TV channel could stay on the screen for more than 3 seconds. Which one do you really want to see? Duan Moshen's voice was low, unable to show any emotions. 3 seconds later, Keke turned off the TV and slammed the remote control onto the coffee table. He turned his head to look at Duan Moshen and said, are you throwing it or not? Duan Moshen looked at her with a pair of dark and profound eyes, indifferent. What are you throwing at? Install, you continue to install. Keke pursed her lips and suppressed the words she wanted to greet him. Then her gentle and clear eyes curved into a beautiful curve, and she smiled and said, it's just an investment in moonlight, shouldn't Mr. Duan consider it? Duan Moshen raised his eyebrows slightly towards Shan Keke's eyes. He touched the tail ring on his left little finger and said, investing in this kind of thing can't be done well without losing money. If I lose money, what will you compensate me with? How do you want to compensate? Keke blurted out. I already mentioned it yesterday. What did he say yesterday? At that time, Keke's mind was filled with that passionate kiss. She looked at the man in front of her suspiciously, as if he had indeed said something last night. I don't remember. Keke's eyes flickered. Duan Moshen asked her to stay last night, so it's unclear. Did he make her his lover? She doesn't want it. Duan Moshen rested one arm on the back of the sofa, looking lazy. His eyes flashed with cunning, and a hint of frivolity curved his lips. I can help you recall it, he said. Keke instinctively sat back in the seat of the sofa, her cheeks flushed, unsure if she was shy or angry. Duan Moshen, we've all known each other for 25 years. You're also talking nonsense. Duan Moshen's cunning deepened in his eyes, but he didn't say anything. He looked at Keke like that, his slender fingers casually rotating the tail ring of his left little finger. Keke felt cramped and angry when he saw it, and complained, you stuck out your tongue yesterday, you're shameless. I don't remember, Duan Moshen replied with a slightly restrained expression in his eyes. Oh, pretend again. Remember everything clearly. Even though he's just a beast, he still pretends to be a gentleman all day, Keke muttered in a low voice. What are you saying? Duan Mo's face darkened. What did I say? Keke asked back. She just said it, but she didn't admit it, which angered him to death. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. You are tempting me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. You are tempting me. Eating. Grandma Duan's voice came from the restaurant. Grandma Duan usually likes to drink a little red wine, so Duan Moshen always brings a few bottles of red wine when he comes back. When he poured wine for Grandma Duan gave him a wink. Although he didn't understand, he still followed suit. He handed a full glass of red wine to Keke. Keke. She cannot drink alcohol, she will get drunk if she gets drunk. Keke had an ominous feeling in her heart, and she looked at Grandma Duan as if seeking help. Grandma Duan smiled slightly and kept it a secret, drink some with Grandma, and if you get drunk, sleep with Grandma. Keke. The atmosphere at the dinner table is always playful, and Keke always thinks of various ways to make Grandma Duan happy. Grandma Duan is also very helpful. Duan Moshen has a cold and aloof personality, occasionally accompanied by the word, He looked at Keke, who had been slightly intoxicated by his grandmother. His eyes were round and bright, and his smile was so gentle. His nose was small and delicate. And that rosy little mouth, he licked his lips with the tip of his tongue. He had tasted it yesterday and it tasted pretty good. She had already become so beautiful in the years he left, and he really missed a lot. After a meal, Keke was intoxicated by Grandma Duan and didn't talk about the investment at all. She was nestled in the sofa, with a pair of round and bright eyes staring at Duan Moshen with resentment. Wherever he went, she stared at him. She wanted to argue about yesterday's matter again and muttered, "I've written it down in my notebook. I must make sure you pay for it with all your blood." Duan Moshen frowned slightly and reached out to pinch her blushing little face. "What are you saying? It's getting late, you can send Coco back," Grandma Duan said to Duan Moshen. Duan Moshen was taken aback. His grandmother had just said to let Keke sleep in the old house. He narrowed his gaze slightly and habitually touched the tail ring of his left little finger. Don't worry, Grandma." He glanced at Keke lying on the sofa, waving his teeth and claws at him, and said in a deep voice, "Don't move." Keke really didn't move, and Duan Moshen easily picked her up. He placed Keke in the back seat of the car and sat beside her, causing the car to fall into silence. The driver dared not speculate on the thoughts of his own boss casually, but the person who ordered him to fly back to his old house after work today, and the man who just cautiously hugged Keke, are still the indifferent Mr. Duan. Wang Che worked as a driver for Duan Moshen for 2 years, and it is not difficult to say how well he knows him, but it is also easy to see that his family always has a cold temperament and a proud heart. Especially Duan Moshen's non-feminine temperament, which truly impressed Wang Che, was known in ancient times as devoid of love. He had never seen Duan Moshen treat anyone so gently before. Even the old lady Duan respected her, let alone women. Besides, his family doesn't like to see Keke. What's the situation now? Suddenly, he remembered the news this morning that Mr. Duan's room never allowed women to enter. Can it be that the person who entered Mr. Duan's room last night was Keke? After a moment, Wang Che spoke up and asked, "Mr. Duan, where are you going tonight?" He didn't ask if he wanted to send Keke home, but instead asked where he was going tonight. He guessed that his family must be in love. Duan Mo's eyes were deep and his gaze wandered freely over Keke. Her waist-length black curly hair scattered haphazardly on her chest, adding a touch of maturity to her slightly immature face. And the tightly packed business line. After a moment, he averted his gaze, his eyes slightly furrowed, and took off his suit jacket to cover Keke's chest. "Go back to the villa," he said. Wang Che is waiting for this sentence. His family Duan is finally getting rid of singlehood. Duan Moshen's villa is located in the most expensive area of the city center, and the people living there are either wealthy or wealthy. The nanny Luan Jing at home was stunned when she saw Duan Moshen holding a woman back. She has been working as a nanny for Mr. Duan for 3 years, and this is the first time she has seen him bring a woman home. After greeting Luan Jing, Duan Moshen went up the stairs. For some reason, Keke suddenly regained his energy and kicked his legs in Duan Moshen's arms, waving his teeth and claws while muttering, "Duan Moshen, you actually forced a kiss on me. I want to tell Grandma Duan to break your dog leg." Little did they know that this was exactly what Mrs. Duan wanted. "Don't make a fuss." Duan Mo frowned slightly, but his voice was surprisingly gentle. "Luan Jing. She dare not meddle in the boss's affairs, but this girl's carefree nature is quite cute." Duan Moshen pushed open the door of the master bedroom and gently placed Keke on his bed. He also doesn't know why he didn't take her home or why he didn't leave her in the guest room. He must be crazy, just like yesterday. Keke on the bed looked at the handsome man in front of the bed in a daze. A pair of deep and narrow eyes shone like obsidian, bright and deep, always making her lose focus. Her tightly closed thin lips and clear and smooth jawline exude a man's sexiness, and her gaze ultimately falls on Duan Moshen's rolling Adam's apple. The man's left little finger is always wearing a tail ring, which makes her feel alienated for no reason. However, this man is really handsome. Keke wobbled up from the bed and wrapped himself around Duan Moshen's waist in a kneeling position. The man's waist was thin and strong, and she felt a sense of satisfaction in her heart. Her mesmerizing eyes were gentle and charming, her smile was like a flower, and her voice was sweet and soft. She said to Duan Moshen, "You should hug and lift yourself high." Duan Moshen was taken aback. What did she mean by this? Before Duan Moshen could react, Keke sucked on his Adam's apple. Everything happened without any warning. If he was slightly drunk yesterday, it was a cowardly drink. But today, he is not drunk, but he is a normal man. Her proactive behavior puts him in a difficult position. He looked at the delicate Keke in front of him, and let her hold him and act coquettish. Duan Moshen's slender and fair fingers ran over the woman's lips, gently and softly, and he asked her in a soft voice, "Are you seducing me?" Keke blinked her innocent beautiful eyes and then nodded firmly, "Seduce you." As she spoke, her hand hooked onto Moshen's neck and she threw herself into his arms, extremely soft. Duan Moshen's Adam's apple rolled and his slender fingers pulled open his tie. "You succeeded, don't regret it," he said the next day. When Keke woke up hazily, he found himself lying in a strange room. Duan Moshen walked out of the dressing room in the bedroom, his cold and profound gaze falling on Keke's surprised little face. "Did you sleep well?" His voice was low and slightly hoarse, but it was not difficult to hear his gentleness. Welcome everyone to leave more comments. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Seductive Stinky Fox. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Seductive Stinky Fox. Impossible. I got drunk yesterday. She doesn't remember, she didn't say anything later, and saying that would make her look scumbag. Duan Mo raised his eyebrows with a hint of teasing in his eyes. "Then don't you remember how you seduced me last night?" "Who seduced you?" "Speak up." "Well," Keke immediately retorted. How could she seduce someone, and the other person was still Duan Moshen? "I can help you recall it, Brother Moshen," Duan Moshen said with a wicked smile at the corner of his mouth. Brother Moshen. She hasn't called him like this for a long time. The next second, Keke's head was about to explode, her face turning white and red, and some indescribable images appeared in her mind out of thin air. Last night, it seemed like she was in a difficult situation and called him Brother Moshen crazy, she's really crazy. She ended her career as a big girl with her own hands, and her drunken promiscuity is probably what she said. Remember. Duan Moshen's voice was frivolous. Keke bit his lip and didn't respond, with a guilty expression on his face. "Actually, you're not at a disadvantage, at least being my woman is very comfortable." Comfortable. Keke's brain uncontrollably thought of some inappropriate scenes for children. She wasn't sure if Duan Moshen meant that, but that's how she thought. "This is the key to my villa. Tomorrow, I will have the driver help you move." Duan Moshen put the key on the bedside table. Keke. She knew that Duan Moshen must be holding back a lot of bad water and said, "Why did I move into your house?" Duan Moshen locked his gaze on the woman in bed with indifference and said in a deep voice, "I agree to the investment matter. I will ask Zhang Ji to contact my assistant later, so you should also fulfill your promise." Fulfill your promise and be his lover. When did she promise? When did I say I wanted to be your lover? Can you stop insulting people like this? Keke looked at Duan Moshen with beautiful eyes and a hint of resentment, her rosy mouth slightly pursed. Lover. When did he say it? Duan Moshen's Adam's apple rolled and his gaze moved away from Keke's mouth. He said in a deep voice, "Then tell me, what do you want to do with me?" Keke pursed her lips, although everything was not as she expected. What else could she do? Leaving aside everything else, she needs to use money to fill the bottomless hole of Yuan. But with her current income, she cannot earn so much money in a short period of time. Instead of being destroyed by Yu Shuyuan, perhaps Duan Moshen is a better choice. At least he has money. Besides being narrow-minded, he's also decent and looks good. Humph, that's all. Then she can't have the audacity to say she's his girlfriend. He is the helmsman of the Duan Group, a highly sought-after presence in the entire business district, and the dream lover of many wealthy and socialites. She knows Duan Moshen too well. How could such a proud person like him like her? At most, he just reacted to her body. That's Duan Moshen, there's something he can't get. Keke finally gave up his struggle, and his whole body was like a deflated balloon. Let's just be lovers. Duan Moshen's eyes flashed with an imperceptible sense of disappointment, and he said in a deep voice, "Eat breakfast before leaving." He glanced at his watch and was ready to leave. At the moment he turned around, he still stopped in his tracks. Keke looked at Duan Moshen's slender figure and exclaimed in surprise, "So what's going on?" Duan Moshen turned around and walked up to the bed, staring down at Keke's rosy little mouth. The next second, a shallow kiss gently landed on Keke's lips. Keke was completely stunned, with a tingling electric sensation hitting her brain. Before she could react, Duan Moshen had already left. She touched her hot cheeks. This stinky fox, so openly teasing her, is it afraid that she will sleep too well at night? Keke went downstairs and Wan Jing, who was cleaning, greeted him with a smile. "Miss you, breakfast is ready and there is also hangover soup. You can have some before leaving." Keke touched his stomach and did feel a bit hungry, possibly because he had a bit of exercise last night. "Thank you, Auntie." "You're welcome, these are all orders from Mr. Duan," Wan Jing said with a smile on her aunt's face. Keke said, "Miss you, your clothes are dirty." I know it's dirty. Her clothes were sprinkled with vegetable soup yesterday, and I don't know where Duan Moshen got her clothes. She has no clothes to wear and can only find a T-shirt in his closet to put on. Duan Moshen's clothes are very big on her body, just enough to be worn as a skirt. Wan Jing smiled and realized that Keke's dress was not only dirty, but also had a torn collar that she couldn't wear anymore. After learning that Keke had received the investment, Zhang Ji was not as happy as a person. Keke didn't say anything else, and Zhang Ji didn't ask much. "You did a great job with this matter, and you will continue to participate in the upcoming activities as usual. In addition, I will arrange an audition for a web drama for you, and I will try my best to arrange other resources for you," Zhang Jidao said. "I managed to secure 2 investments for the company this time. Mr. Zhang won't just send me off with an audition for a web drama, will he? She has made a fortune this time, she must obtain resources from Zhang Ji and get her hands on them." Zhang Jima paused on the other end of the phone for a while and said, "I'll try my best to arrange it." "Zhang wouldn't be so stingy, would he? You're so chilling." Keke's tone was calm, and she couldn't hear how urgent she was inside. Zhang Ji remained silent again, and what Keke said was not wrong. If the salesperson of the company negotiated this deal, he would still have to pay a bonus. If he doesn't give anything to Keke, wouldn't it chill the hearts of other employees in the company? Besides, the investment has not been signed yet, and Yuko may have facilitated the signing. It is difficult to say that she will not ruin the signing. He can't take the risk of using a few variety shows to fool her, it's not a loss. Seeing that Zhang Ji remained silent, Keke continued, "I don't require the resources of those first and second tier celebrities either. I just want to take one step at a time, and Mr. Zhang can give me some audition opportunities. The more, the better." Interview. Zhang Ji. Never mind, just audition. After all, with Keke's reputation, not many crew members dare to use her. When the time comes, he will switch to other female artists, and it won't be a loss. "Don't worry, I'll keep my word and I won't treat you unfairly." Zhang Ji wiped the sweat from his forehead and changed the topic. The live broadcast will start the day after tomorrow. You're ready. The live broadcast that Keke appeared on this time was a live broadcast by fitness experts in the industry, and it was also the opportunity he had finally won for Keke. It's not because he values Keke so much, but because this kind of program can effortlessly showcase Keke's good figure, and then it can make another wave of hot searches and gain some popularity. Keke is already 25 years old this year, and their contract will expire in 5 years. He doesn't have that much time to waste with her. He just wants to make money, he can squeeze out a little bit. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Coco, wake up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Coco, wake up. The next day, after Keke woke up, he immediately began packing his luggage. She knew that Duan Moshen would do what he said, but it was useless for her to cheat. When I came downstairs at noon to throw garbage back, I saw a man in a black suit as soon as I got out of the elevator. The man leaned against her door with his hands in his pockets, hanging his head as if he had many worries. Without the sharpness of the day and the habitual estrangement, she felt a little more heartache for no reason. With 4 eyes facing each other, Keke blinked her clear and gentle eyes and said, "What are you doing at my house?" Duan Moshen stood up straight, his gaze fixed on Keke's slightly red cheeks. "Don't you ask me to come in and sit down." Keke. I've been busy all morning, very tired. Duan Moshen's voice was slightly tired. Keke looked at Duan Moshen's dark and deep eyes. Inviting him in wouldn't be inviting wolves into the room. A hint of cunning flashed in Duan Moshen's eyes, fleeting in an instant. This is his first time coming to Keke's house, and as soon as he entered, he frowned. "Can't you buy a bigger house?" Keke glanced at the pile of small houses and weakly replied, "I rented this house." Duan Moshen's eyes were slightly restrained, showing no emotion. He took out a bank card from his shirt pocket and placed it on the coffee table. "Be good to yourself." Keke. What does he mean? Is he insulting her with money? Keke didn't go to pick up the card. She patted the suitcase beside her and said, "I've packed my things and someone can come and pick me up now." The attitude is very positive. I am very satisfied. Duan Moshen raised his eyebrows slightly, with a slight curve at the corner of his mouth. He picked up Keke's suitcase and asked her, "Is that the only one? Don't want the rest?" Keke glanced at the crowded small house and replied with a smile, "These are all unnecessary things. Let's put them here for now. I still have 2 years of rent." Duan Moshen frowned slightly and spoke in a low voice, "Do you still plan to come back?" Keke. She is prepared to move back at any time. "It's nothing." Duan Moshen touched the tail ring of his little finger. "Let's go." Keke took a surprised photo of Moshen and said, "Can you take me over?" "Well, the driver has something else to attend to." Duan Moshen calmly mentioned Keke's luggage. "Wang Che, who blows air conditioning in the office. It's rare for Mr. Duan to go out alone. Stealing his tea for drinking shouldn't be discovered, right?" After Duan Moshen sent Keke to the villa, he returned to the company. It was Luan Jing who welcomed Keke. She unintentionally avoided Luan Jing's gaze, and the dirty bed sheet shamelessly made her feel ashamed. "Luan Jing. The boss's matter is just a matter of asking and not caring." She took Keke to visit the villa once, and Keke always felt something was wrong. It wasn't until she was tidying up and bowing that she was surprised to find out. "Aunt Luan, don't you have my room?" Luan Jing. This cloakroom was originally a second bedroom, but recently it was converted to a cloakroom by the teacher. "What does he need so many cloakrooms for?" "He's not selling clothes." Keke pursed his lips. Luan Jing calmly glanced at Keke and added, "Mr. Duan instructed you to sleep in the same room as him." "A room?" Keke exploded. Duan Jing chose to ignore Yukiki's surprised expression and said, Mr. Duan said that she will come back later tonight after overtime work, and Miss Yu doesn't have to wait for him. Who wants to wait for him? His mind is spinning. Dinner was eaten by Yukiki herself, and after the meal, she went to the larger cloakroom than her previous small home. It can be said that it is desolate and unbearable. She swore to work hard to make money to fill this cloakroom. The premise is before Duan Moshen drives her away. Before, she used to live by herself and her pajamas were all her favorite styles, with deep V-shaped, backless, and high-slit. Yukiki picked up one casually, completely unaware that she was playing with fire. She was lying on Duan Moshen's bed, which she also slept on yesterday. She covered herself in a blanket, unable to think or think. Yukiki, you need to be rational. He doesn't like you, he has already said so. She took out the bank card Duan Moshen gave her from her bag. It's really hopeless. When she was leaving, she still took it from the coffee table. She transferred 700,000 yuan to her bank card. One day, Duan Moshen, the provincial governor, had a brain teaser and asked for the card back. She was also worried about Yu Shuyuan's situation. Moreover, this bank card was voluntarily given to her by Duan Moshen, and it is definitely not that she is greedy for his money. She swore that she would never use this card again unless there was a life-saving situation. Yukiki has been using his phone for 2 hours now, and it is unknown how many times he has been woken up by his phone. The drowsiness grew heavier and heavier, and she finally couldn't hold on anymore. She rolled over and fell into a deep sleep. When Duan Moshen returned to the villa, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. He gently pushed open the bedroom door and saw Yukiki curled up obediently on his bed like a little white rabbit. She kicked the blanket under her feet, with her delicate and graceful legs stretching freely, especially her thin and smooth back. Duan Moshen's dark and deep eyes flickered with a hint of radiance, and he finally circled her around him. After washing up, Duan Moshen lifted the blanket and lay down on the bed. He gently patted Yukiki, and his deep and gentle voice reminded him in his ear, Coco, wake up. The next day, Duan Moshen woke up at 7 o'clock motionless and looked at the girl sleeping soundly beside him, lightly kissing her forehead. Before leaving, Duan Moshen pushed the door open and glanced at the second bedroom cloakroom as he passed by. It is empty and half of the wall is not satisfied. Wang Che was already waiting at the entrance of the villa. Mr. Duan, do you need to handle the report about Miss Yu's nightclub man? Duan Moshen's pitch-black eyes looked out the window and remained silent for a while before saying, no need. She entered his room and knows everything she knows, but she will also know what she doesn't know in the future. Wang Che can't understand his family's CEO Duan anymore. Is it because Duan's group's industry does not involve the entertainment industry? But this doesn't seem to make much sense either. Duan Moshen touched the tail ring of his left little finger and said in a low voice, go to Duan's shopping mall. Wang Che. Yes. When did Mr. Duan visit the mall or during working hours? Never mind, Mr. Duan's thoughts are not something that a general like him can easily guess. The live broadcast starts at 7 p.m. When Yukiki and his team departed from the company, they happened to meet Zhang Ji. Zhang Ji stopped Zhou Qing and said, I have arranged a car for Yukiki, which will be parked at the entrance of the company. You can use that car from now on. Zhang Ji's gaze fell on Yukiki, whether he liked it or not, but she was indeed a good material for mixing in the entertainment industry. Going downstairs, Yukiki saw a business car parked at the entrance. Although it was old, it was better than nothing. At least in the future, there was no need to call a car when going out. Zhou Qing threw the big bag in her hand into the car and said, I finally have a car, Coco. You're good to work hard, and it will definitely get better and better in the future. Coco nodded and didn't catch Zhou Qing's implied meaning. Zhou Qing's gaze fell on Yukiki with profound meaning. She didn't believe that Yukiki could make Duan Moshen invest with just one word. Anyone who knew how to invest could see that the movie Moonlight had almost no business opportunities. Keke must have fallen in love with emotion. With Duan Moshen, the Gold Lord, are you still afraid that the future will be difficult? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Live streaming begins, beauty comes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Live streaming begins, beauty comes. At the live broadcast, apart from the staff responsible for coordinating with Keke, almost no one paid attention to her on site. Keke is accustomed to the warmth and coldness of people in the entertainment industry and doesn't care. Anchor Zhao Hai is adjusting the camera, and Guang sees Keke chatting with the makeup artist. He originally intended to invite Ji Jianan as a guest, but her itinerary was too full. He can communicate with Zhang Ji to let Wang Yan come over. Although Wang Yan's fame is not as good as Ji Jianan's, her recent popularity is very good, and she is a fan of Wang Yan. If it were Wang Yan, he would agree. But in the end, Zhang Ji gave him a reputation of Keke, and he was really afraid that today's comments section would be drowned out by Keke's insults. Keke didn't have any special arrangements for today's live broadcast. She just appeared as a guest in the live broadcast room, followed the host in aerobics, showcased her good figure, educated her on fitness knowledge, and helped the host promote products. She usually works out and has some knowledge in this area, so today's live broadcast is so easy for her. At the beginning of the live broadcast, Zhao Hai and Keke exchanged a few simple greetings before getting to the main topic. Following the original process, they asked Keke to introduce their clothing. The clothes were prepared by Zhao Hai Studio and are also one of the items that need to be sold this time. Hello everyone, I am Keke. Keke's voice was gentle and sweet. I'm wearing a summer sports suit today, and the material of this outfit is very breathable. Zhao Hai politely turned his head to look at Keke, and then his eyes did not take them off her body. Is Keke's figure so good? Why didn't he notice before? She is not the kind of thin and skinny person, but rather a slim and curvy person with all the necessary features and good muscle lines. Her height of 1.67 meters, coupled with a pair of straight and fair legs, looks very beautiful even without looking at her face. Moreover, looking at her from such a close distance, she is really beautiful. She is the kind of gentle and tender girl that people can't help but want to protect. No wonder Zhang Ji always recommended Keke to him back then. The feeling of being full of positive energy all over his body was completely different from the rumored image, completely overturning Zhao Hai's understanding of Keke. 5 minutes later, the fitness live broadcast officially began. Keke stood behind Zhao Hai and followed him in every movement, trying to do it to the standard and never slacking off. At the beginning of the broadcast, there weren't too many people, and there were scattered comments in the comments section criticizing Keke. Zhao Hai selectively went blind and skipped all the questions when answering fans. Half an hour has passed, and there are more and more people in the live broadcast room. The previously relatively orderly comments section has already exploded. Look, this is Keke. She has such a good figure. I'll go, it's like my goddess, this figure is definitely not fake. If it weren't for regular exercise, I wouldn't have this figure. Is this still Keke I know? I was supposed to come and scold her, but now I want to switch fans. The scroll bars in the comments section were so fast that they couldn't even be seen clearly. Keke focused all her energy on the actions and didn't even glance at the comments section. She knew that the person cursing her must have scrolled through the screen. An hour has passed, and the first half is over. During halftime, there will be a 20-minute live broadcast to promote sales. At this moment, the staff's loud voice rang out in the live broadcast room, the clothes on Keke's body have been sold out. Zhao Hai hurriedly said, inventory up. The inventory is also out, sold out, the staff repeated. Upon hearing this, Zhao Hai quickly walked to the computer to check and found that there was no stock left. He had prepared 2,000 sets today and thought it would be good to sell 100 or 200 pieces, but he didn't expect it to be sold out in just an hour. He flipped through the comments section again, only to find that almost all of them praised Keke. It's not an exaggeration to say that this is the arrival of the goddess of beauty. You cool laughed and killed me once, people don't talk too much, see you in the shopping cart. Occasionally, she would receive a few insults, but then she would be chased and scolded by others. Some people would keep scrolling through the screen, asking Keke to buy whatever she sells. Zhao Hai smiled incredulously. He didn't know if it was his live broadcast room that saved Keke's image, or if Keke drove the sales rhythm in his live broadcast room. Keke still didn't go to the comments section. Zhou Qing handed her tissues and water, and handed her her phone to read the comments above. Keke had just taken the phone and Zhao Hai came back. Before she could even look at it, she returned the phone to Zhou Qing. In the next 20 minutes of sales time, Zhao Hai almost handed over all the products to Keke, asking him to recommend them to his fans. The result was completely unexpected, and the shelves were swept away. Zhao Hai clapped his hands and cheered. The last product is a sports watch, and Zhang Ji specifically asked Zhao Hai for a close-up, asking Keke to come to the camera and have a big close-up of his face. In the comments section. Sleeping slot, Keke's smile is so infectious, it's so beautiful. Her skin is really good, is it made of water? How do I think she looks better without makeup? She's a beauty without makeup, she's absolutely amazing. This head is more adorable. Keke's gaze has never been focused on the comments section, but judging from Zhao Hai's expression, she shouldn't have caused too much trouble for this live broadcast. In the office of the president of Duan Group, Duan Moshen had been busy all day, lying exhausted on the sofa in the office flipping through his phone. After returning home last night, he kept her busy all night and realized that he seemed to have discovered the new world. By the time he was ready to sleep, it was almost dawn. He no longer remembers when he couldn't help but be eager to get her. Duan Moshen opened the live streaming app and learned from Wang Che that Keke had a fitness live broadcast tonight. As soon as I entered the live broadcast room, I saw a beautiful and fair-skinned girl with a slender waist and long legs. She always amazes people at a glance. Duan Moshen flipped through the comments section, almost all of them praising Keke. The corners of his mouth unconsciously curled up, as if they were not praising Keke but him. His fingers were rapidly tapping on the screen of his phone, and the phrase, "Coco baby is so beautiful," was written 3 times in a row but was washed away. Duan Moshen sat up from the sofa and stubbornly posted 5, 6, 7, or 8 times, until Zhao Hai saw him on the 9th time. Coco's Stinky Fox said Coco's big baby is really beautiful. This fan has great vision, and Coco is indeed very beautiful. Duan Moshen, who was read the comment, was in a great mood, but that was his Coco. As the live broadcast drew to a close, Keke finished introducing the last batch of products, and the shelves were completely empty in a second. Zhao Hai's mouth was grinning to the ear. Until the end of the live broadcast, Keke didn't even glance at the comments section. She only knew that today's sales were very good, and couldn't help but marvel at Zhao Hai's popularity. Zhao Hai changed his previous attitude and took the initiative to bid farewell to Keke. "Today, I worked hard, teacher Coco. I hope we will have the opportunity to work together in the future," he said. Keke was taken aback, as few people would invite her so warmly. She smiled slightly and responded, "You're too polite. I should say it's my honor to work with you. If you need anything in the future, just feel free to speak up." On the way back, Zhou Qing was already laughing uncontrollably and said, "Coco, you really went crazy today. Zhao Hai's live broadcast room is almost collapsing." Keke didn't know why. Can killing crazy be equated with collapse? Is it difficult for her fans to ruin Zhao Hai's live broadcast room? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Someone causing trouble. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 8. Someone causing trouble. Keke asked the driver to take her back to her original residence. After the car drove far away, she called another car to Duan Moshen's villa. "Miss you, Mr. Duan is upstairs," said Luan Jing, the only one waiting for her in the living room. "Got it." Keke walked up the stairs with tired steps. Can she not sleep with him tonight? Thinking of last night when she was sleeping soundly, Duan Moshen called her up. "She was busy all night. When I woke up this morning, my legs were still a bit soft. If you come again tonight she can't bear it. I don't know where that stinky fox came from for his energy. He's not even tired, he doesn't even breathe heavily. Why is she the only one suffering?" Keke mustered the courage to push open the bedroom door, but Duan Moshen was not there. "It's already 10:30, not in the bedroom, it must be in the study." After Keke finished washing up, Duan Moshen did not return to his room. She threw herself on that big and comfortable bed, which she had not slept on for a long time. Duan Moshen is so wealthy, this mattress should be very expensive. She casually opened Weibo, and out of the top 10 hot searches, she had 3, one of which occupied the top spot. The title turned out to be Keke Live Event. Her heart pounded. She really didn't do anything tonight. Isn't Zhao Hai also quite satisfied? How could there be a live broadcast event? She opened the headline with a nervous heart, realizing that she had broken the record for online viewers in Zhao Hai's live broadcast room and even became the top seller of the night. Fortunately, it's a good thing. Even if she gets blacklisted herself, if it affects others, she would be too upset. The remaining 2 items occupy the 4th and 9th positions on the hot search list, respectively. The 4th point is that there is not a big problem with the title. Keke stands out with a good figure. But the 9th rule is not very friendly anymore. Keke and Luo Yixin. They haven't been in touch for 4 years, how could they get together again? Keke clicked on the title, Former, Keke and Luo Yixin, which contains all the photos they used to shoot. That was her first play, and she was selected by the director before graduating from college. Luo Yixin is 3 years older than her and always adheres to her deliberate marketing of CP. Yuko is disgusted, but unfortunately she is a newcomer, weak and can only accompany a smiling face. These are nothing. And what she couldn't understand the most was that 6 months after the drama premiered, it was rumored online that she had a child with Luo Yixin. After the drama was finished, she continued to go to school. When she returned to the public eye, she gained 5 pounds, and coupled with her irregular schedule during that period, her overall state was not very good. So she was portrayed by those unscrupulous media as having a child with Luo Yixin, and her postpartum recovery was poor. She had already signed with Zhang's entertainment company at that time, and Zhang Ji valued her very much. It took a lot of effort to suppress those news. She originally sympathized with Luo Yixin. After all, being exposed with such news suddenly would be a fatal blow to any young actor. At this moment, Zhou Qing sent a WeChat message. "Watch Luo Yixin's live broadcast." Keke frowned and then opened Luo Yixin's live broadcast room. The door suddenly opened, and Keke was startled and instinctively turned off her phone. She looked at Duan Moshen in panic. Her phone screen was turned off, but the sound was still there. "When I was filming with Keke, our relationship was very good. We often had meals together, and she was quite cute at that time. I don't know why it ended up like that later on." Keke. Duan Moshen's pitch-black eyes glared at Keke, unable to show any emotion. His long legs spread out and he stopped in front of the bed, extending his slender fingers. Keke blinked his eyes and handed his hand over. Before she could even put her hand on his, Duan Moshen's thin lips slightly parted and his voice was low. "Mobile phone." Keke let out a dry laugh and took out his phone from the bed. Unlocking. Always cold. Keke was like a child who had done something wrong, obediently handing the unlocked phone to Duan Moshen. Duan Moshen narrowed his narrow and deep eyes, with a cold light shining in them. On the phone screen, Luo Yixin glanced at the subtitles in the comments section and repeated the question from the netizen, "Child?" Luo Yixin's expression was both perplexed and disdainful. "I swear, I don't have any children with her. I think as a responsible man, even if something happens, we should take safety measures." Haha. Keke couldn't believe his ears. Creating something out of nothing suddenly, her remaining light seemed to have received a sharp eye. If Duan Moshen's gaze could have been sharp, she would have been completely dismembered. She awkwardly smiled and quickly explained, "He's talking nonsense. I don't have much to do with him, no, it's not nothing. We just filmed together, me. Ex-boyfriend." Duan Moshen sneered, cutting constantly and being messy. "What else do you want to have? A child?" Keke was bewildered by Duan Moshen's 4 consecutive questions and blinked, "I underestimated your imagination." Duan Mo frowned deeply, and a hint of anger flashed in his eyes. Before he could speak, Keke's phone rang. He threw her phone on the bed without even looking and left the room. Keke glanced at Duan Moshen's back in frustration and answered the phone. "You haven't gotten the money yet." Yu Shuyuan's voice was deafening. Subconsciously, Keke lowered the microphone and said, "Wait a little longer. I don't have a job at the moment, and once I receive the money, no matter how much, I will transfer it to you." She didn't want to give the money to Yu Shuyuan so easily. Yu Shuyuan wouldn't appreciate her, he would only intensify his demand for money from her. Although Yu Shuyuan was not satisfied, there was nothing he could do. He didn't want to stop Keke so early. Hanging up the phone, her gaze fell on the door of the room, and Duan Moshen became angry. She was just about to explain to him, and then she thought to herself, why did she have to explain to him? What is he angry about, and who is she with him? That stinky fox's temper is still so strange, it hasn't changed at all, let him think whatever he likes. The live broadcast of Luo Yixin reappeared on her phone, and she casually flipped through the comment section. "I watched Keke's fitness live broadcast a few days ago and almost turned black and white. Now I'm a bit hesitant. I think Keke is a very strong girl. No matter how much she scolds her, she feels like she can't hear her. Sometimes having a thicker skin is a good thing. What is the illusion mentioned upstairs?" Teacher Luo's words are already very obvious. Keke had an affair with a wealthy man while dating Teacher Luo. He thought it was a rumor, but now it's real. Keke bit her lips in hatred. If it weren't for her own lips, she would have bitten them open to vent her anger. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Another Big Melon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Another Big Melon. Zhou Qing's phone call came in, very pleasing. "Coco, I have prepared the public relations copy for this matter and sent it to your WeChat. Please remember to clarify it on Weibo." Keke was somewhat surprised by the speed of the company's operations, as in the past, if someone deliberately smeared the situation, the company would simply choose to ignore it. It has to be said that the entertainment industry is a very realistic arena for fame and fortune. Keke replied. "Got it. Zhou Qing. Don't forget the opening ceremony of Dex next Monday." Keke. I'll see you at the company on Monday." Duan Moshen returned to the study to continue the unfinished work, and when the mouse clicked randomly on the computer, it was unable to enter the state. He lit a cigarette, and his narrow and deep black eyes lit up with a sinister look. He had long heard of Luo Yixin, and when he had just returned to China, the first news he received from Keke was from her and Luo Yixin. At that time, he had investigated and found out that they were not together at all. It was Luo Yixin who was riding the heat of Yuka everywhere. Even now, she dares to openly spread rumors in the live broadcast room. It's just bullying Keke, who is weak and has no one to support her. When Duan Moshen returned to his bedroom at 1 o'clock in the morning, Keke had already fallen asleep. The next day, the office of the president of Duan Group. Wang Che stood breathless at Duan Moshen's desk and said, "Mr. Duan, please take a look at Weibo. Someone has maliciously smeared Miss You." Duan Moshen furrowed his brows and opened Weibo. At that moment, the Weibo headline was still, Keke live event. Duan Moshen browsed through it and there was no problem. He had already guessed that the live broadcast effect of Keke last night was very good. Immediately after, the second post on Weibo has become Luo Yixin refutes the rumor, actually hammering Kekescom woman. Article 6, former, Keke in Luo Yixin. The line, Keke made a comeback with his good figure, has been washed away. Duan Moshen clicked on, Luo Yixin refutes the rumor and actually hammers Kekescom woman, and the content inside is that last night in the live broadcast room, Luo Yixin hinted at Keke's infidelity during her love affair, causing her character to collapse. In fact, what Luo Yixin wants to express the most is that because of Keke, it indirectly affected his career, selling a miserable wave to earn popularity. Duan Moshen sneered with a cold gaze, it was he who gained popularity before being rumored. Now, he wants to distance himself and gain popularity. There's no such good thing in this world. He casually clicked on, former, Keke and Luo Yixin again, all of which were photos of Keke and Luo Yixin filming together in the past, and he had seen every one of them. The hot search that Keke clarified is in a relatively lower position. The text clearly clarifies her relationship with Luo Yixin and seriously warns Luo Yixin not to try to ride on her popularity again. He flipped down again casually, his gaze lingering slightly on one of them before throwing his phone aside. He leaned back in his chair and said in a deep voice to Wang Che, "Cut off his live broadcast, don't let me see this person again." Wang Che originally thought that his family only had some favorable feelings towards Keke, so he deliberately came to report it in order to please the boss. I didn't expect his family Duan to be so swift and decisive, and directly banned Luo Yixin. After pondering for a moment, Wang Che asked again, "Mr. Duan, should that hot search be taken down?" Duan Mo raised his eyebrows and said, "No need, she has already clarified." Keke woke up in the morning without seeing Duan Moshen. When he went downstairs to eat, he asked Luan Jing, "Aunt Luan, where is Duan Moshen?" Luan Jing smiled and said, "Mr. Duan went to the company early in the morning to work overtime." Keke nodded and asked, "Is he usually so busy?" "Mr. Duan works overtime almost every Saturday, and he also goes out early and returns late on weekdays. After returning, he often works very late," said Luan Jing. Keke nodded thoughtfully, realizing that the Duan family had a big business and it was normal for him to be a little busy. Actually, what she wanted to ask was not that. She looked at Luan Jing several times and hesitated to speak. Luan Jing noticed Keke's entanglement and said, "Miss You, do you have anything you want to ask me?" "No," Keke pursed his lips. "How many women around Duan Moshen have any relationship with her? She doesn't care. It's better to have many, many women so that she has a chance to leave him." Keke opened her Weibo account, and after clarifying on Weibo last night, she never paid attention to that matter again. She looked at the top trending topic on Weibo and slowly opened her mouth. She bit her fist and dialed Ji Jianan's phone number. "Nan, can you honestly explain that the hot search on Weibo is true?" Ji Jianan cleared his throat, so he pretended to be calm and said, "I have already announced it." "Ah." Keke's chin was completely shocked now. "Have you ever informed Mr. Zhang?" "I don't know what's going on, can he still hide me?" Ji Jianan spoke confidently. Ji Jianan is one of the hottest actresses in the industry. At a young age, she has already been a two-star actress. For Zhang Entertainment Company, it is entirely Ji Jianan who supports the company alone. So no matter how stubborn Ji Jianan is, Zhang Ji can only coax her, let alone Ji Jianan's contract with Zhang's entertainment company will expire in 2 years. Zhang Ji will follow her and coax her whatever she says. Keke couldn't imagine that if it were her, Zhang Ji would have had to peel off her skin. Coco, do you have time this afternoon? My driver is sick, could you pick me up at the airport? Keke. She is going to the airport at 5 p.m. to pick up Ji Jianan, and she needs a car. Keke arrived at the parking lot of Duan Moshen. This car doesn't work, I don't like it, it's too ugly. Finally, she took a photo and sent it to Duan Moshen. I need to use the car, where are the keys? Duan Moshen frowned and did not reply. Yesterday's incident hasn't been flipped over yet. 10 minutes later, Duan Moshen received another WeChat message. I have found the key. Duan Moshen glanced at the photo sent to him by Keke again and replied, Big G is not suitable for you. You can drive the sedan behind you. Keke glanced at the sedan behind him, it was too ugly. She quickly replied to Duan Moshen, this car looks like it's resistant to collisions. Duan Moshen was amused by Keke's reply. Fortunately, she thought of choosing a collision-resistant car and replied, be careful, don't drive too fast, and keep the distance between the cars. He opened Weibo and the article, Ji Jianan's love story, had already reached the top spot on hot searches, followed by Ji Jianan's official announcement. The Keke live broadcast incident firmly ranks third, and the previous one has already been trending. He originally intended to use some means to remove that eye-catching hot search, but the entertainment industry is like this. Whoever has a big reputation can occupy the hot search. Compared to Ji Jianan, Keke is just a small witch seeing a big witch. End of this chapter. 10. Chapter 10. Cannot be biased towards her beauty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Cannot be biased towards her beauty. As soon as Ji Jianan left the airport VIP aisle, she saw a big G. She was momentarily stunned, and then the pitch-black car window rolled down. Keke poked out a small head and said, what are you staring at? After greeting the airport pick-up fans, Ji Jianan got in the car and said, you can do it. Where did you get the car? Keke said, I borrowed it. Ji Jianan didn't think much and changed the topic, did you do a good job with the live broadcast? Keke smiled proudly at her and said, of course, my beauty is killing everyone. Ji Jianan also smiled along. Ji Jianan is the only good friend of Keke in the circle, one of whom is half red and the other half cold. But these two people just looked at each other and became good friends who couldn't help but speak. After Ji Jianan's agent and assistant got on the car, Keke started the car in an orderly manner. Are you still leaving this time? Keke asked. I'm not leaving, X is about to start filming, so I'll take a break to adjust my state. Ji Jianan stretched lazily. What should she do next for a love show? Tomorrow, Zhang Ji's nagging is inevitable. Just thinking about it makes my ears uncomfortable. The car was driving in an orderly manner on the highway, and no matter how fast the speed around her was, Keke remained at 60 miles per hour. No matter how the headlights of the rear car flickered at her, she remained consistent. Her mother died in a car accident, so she had a shadow over driving. It took her 8 years to overcome her fear. After shaking her for the third time, the rear car suddenly accelerated and overtook from her left side. Keke was startled and let out a scream. Then the rear of the car collided with her front, causing the car to tremble violently. Due to the speed of the car being too fast, her big G directly drove the roof off the lane. Fortunately, the car on her right lane cleverly avoided that car and did not cause a second accident. Keke was trembling all over, holding the steering wheel, and his legs were weak. Others were also quite frightened. Ji Jianan's agent immediately asked about Ji Jianan and Keke's situation. I think Keke is scared. You guys are waiting in the car, I'll go down and take a look first. Ji Jianan didn't know about Yuka's recent situation, but seeing Yuka's reaction was a bit off. Coco, are you okay? Yuki's face turned white and sweat had already seeped out of his forehead. Nan, you scared me to death, he said. Ji Jianan quickly comforted her and said, it's okay, it's just a collision. Ji Jianan's agent hurriedly walked over to the driver's side and said, the other party is not a bad person. I have already called the police, and I am not very good at handling traffic accidents. Coco, you should let the car owner handle it himself. Keke hesitated. She had an argument with Duan Moshen yesterday, and now she has hit his car again. Their relationship is so delicate, how could she be too embarrassed to call him over? Keke trembled as she stepped out of the car with both hands and feet, forcing herself to calm down. She first checked the car and found that the big G was indeed collision resistant, but there was a slight scratch and a fist-sized dent in the front. Keke glanced at the car in front again, and the entire rear of the car was deformed, with the airbags popping out. The other party was two greasy middle-aged men in suits, one covering their neck and the other covering their chest. One of the men pointed at Keke and said, "Can you drive?" Keke calmly took a deep breath and replied, "Brother, it was your overtaking that caused the accident just now." Before Keke could finish speaking, the middle-aged man spoke again, "Are you that female celebrity? What's your name, Keke?" Keke was taken aback. When she first got off the car, she was too hasty and forgot to wear a mask to look at it. She immediately denied, "You have mistaken the person." Another middle-aged man took out his phone and started taking photos of Keke. "Come and take a look. The female celebrity treats the road like her own garden and sees how it hit our car." At this moment, Ji Jianan was about to get off the car fully armed when he was stopped by an assistant beside him. "Sister Nan, you can't go. Those two people look like scoundrels," he said. Ji Jianan slammed his forehead in frustration and received a WeChat message from Keke. Nan, don't get off the car, I can solve it." Seeing Keke's WeChat, Ji Jianan felt relieved, but she was still prepared to get off the car and fight at any time. Keke, a girl, couldn't stand the vulgar language of two middle-aged men, so she decided to make a big move. She took out her phone from her pocket and was answered with just one ring. From the other end of the phone came a deep and gentle voice from Moshen, "Coco." With just a sound of Coco, her hard-earned psychological defense line collapsed instantly. She choked up and said to Duan Moshen, "Can you come over?" Duan Moshen was on his way home when he heard that Keke's voice was not right. His whole heart was torn open and he said, "Keke, tell me where you are and what happened. I'll go over now." He knew that Keke was a very strong girl, and she managed to handle such a big incident in the Yuan family. How could she collapse over a small accident? When Duan Moshen arrived at the scene of the accident, the traffic police had just arrived. The other party was still very arrogant, and even threatened Keke with the video he had just taken in front of the traffic police. Keke clenched her fists, really hating herself for not being a man, otherwise she would have exploded that person's head. "Tell me something," Duan Moshen's voice came from behind. Keke turned around and saw Duan Moshen, dressed in a black suit, walking towards her with long legs in the darkness. With such strength and responsibility, for a moment she thought she could rely on him. She suppressed the tears that were about to fall and choked up like a child who had made a mistake. "I'm sorry, could you please come over?" Duan Moshen's pitch-black eyes stared at Keke, unable to show any emotions. But his heart seemed to be pricked. Her words just now made him uncertain whether Keke really needed him. It seemed that if it weren't for his car, Keke wouldn't have called him at all. Duan Moshen's mouth twisted into an imperceptible bitter smile as he looked at Keke, who was pale and trembling all over. He rubbed Keke's head with his big palm and said softly, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." The other two middle-aged people saw that Duan Moshen was also a young man, thinking that it was just a few stinky money at home, and didn't even take Duan Moshen seriously. The middle-aged man began to harass and scold fiercely, "We are just normal overtaking cars. Who knew?" She suddenly accelerated and collided with our car, and we almost died. Traffic police, you can't favor her for being beautiful. Please pay attention to your words, the traffic police stopped in a cold voice. Duan Moshen lowered his gaze and glanced at Keke. Keke shook his head and said, "I didn't accelerate." Duan Moshen turned his head and said to the traffic police, "I have a driving recorder. You can take a look at the situation at that time. If it's our problem, we will definitely compensate, but if it's the other party's problem, I won't be lenient either." End of this chapter.